Hi, I'm Sarah Brumwell, the editor of fundoperator.com. I'm here with Marie Dzanis, Head of Asset Management in EMEA for Northern Trust. Marie is speaking at our Fund Operations Summit later in the year, and ahead of that, we wanted to catch up with her to get a little bit of a flavour of what she's going to be talking about. Hi, Marie, thanks for joining me.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here and looking forward to the conference.
Me too. So obviously you're delivering one of our keynotes, and there's lots of stuff you're going to talk about. But as I said, I just wanted to get a bit of a sense of some of those things. So my first question is, what has COVID and the associated cultural and working habits shifts taught us about resilient operating models?
So what COVID learnings have taught us, and there's no question that COVID accelerated the technological agenda, but people learned that they can effectively work in remote places. And this is of concern on how this is for the operation model of the future. We look at now, there's greater costs because of inflation. People are desirous to staying at home. But the real question resides is the decision of what is the right balance of mix that not only serves the business well, but also perpetuates the culture. So you have an environment where people can raise their hand, where they can challenge. And how do we get the best out of the new workplace of the future, that we get different ideas around the table and we can have not only an operational resilience environment, better technology, but also getting the best out of people overall. And we see that there can be burnout, fatigue. We need to be skilled managers in different ways so we can identify these challenges and better surround our talent.
Lovely. And to what extent should fund operators be triggering a reassessment of their current operations frameworks based on all of this, assuming they haven't already done so, I guess?
So it involves a very different assessment of just technology, of just operational framework. Incorporated into that framework is the human element of making sure that people are surrounded in the right way. So we're going to explore this in the conference of how we can approach this. What are some tools that we can use, and what are the best practices that we're seeing in the industry?
Makes sense. And I'm glad you touched on technology, because that's kind of my next question. What are some of the advances in digital technology that perhaps you've seen that should be top of mind for COOs when they're thinking about these sorts of things?
Well, we're learning a lot about technology as we migrated in COVID, but there are many, many intersections of technology with investments. And as we think that the generational transfer of wealth that the largest we'll ever see will take place by the year 2035, things are rapidly changing, and it's exciting to see how things like digital model delivery, currencies, platforms, distributed ledger technology can positively shape our future. And I look to the younger generation that's going to leverage that in a more intuitive way and enable investments in different ways. So here's the real question: are firms ready to embrace and serve in this new investment landscape? And it can help a lot from the aspect of doing AML KYC. It can help a lot by being able to scale businesses and the like. But there are some challenges, and I can't wait to get into that with the group later at the conference.
Lovely. And just thinking about global organizations, how important is it to make sure that you're creating a consistent approach when it comes to operations globally?
Well, many of us who are operating in firms that are global in nature experience interesting challenges. Now more than ever before, though, it's important to have a dynamic where there's a global strategy. The consistency of process, making sure that you have a follow the sun model, that you can roll over the technology if there's an issue in one area. But it also requires regional understanding and expertise. So being able to align and offer coverage from afar also means that you'll be more resilient and more successful in your business overall, and of course, more scalable. However, one of the unusual challenges that is more magnified than ever before today is the timing and sequencing and the requirements that are done on the regulatory landscape. There are regulations in global places around the world that can be vastly different, and the timing by which you have to gear up for these. So now we're not only talking about the differences and nuances and regulation requirements, but there's not synergy across the globe. So we're going to explore how we can create a model or listen to best practices around some of these challenges.
Great stuff. Okay, last one from me today. What are some of the steps that operations departments can perhaps take to make sure that they're constantly open to all of this reinvention and innovation that we've discussed?
Well, Sarah, one of my favorite sayings is, if you do not like change, you're going to hate irrelevance. And today's environment requires more change, which means not only do you have to constantly be dynamically reconsidering strategy, but bring your team along with you. So as you might have great process for looking at governance, you might have great process for global strategy, you might have a great vision on how you want your operations to look. What's really important is bringing your team along with you differently, and the human aspect of that from a leadership standpoint on how to navigate those change, make sure that you have buy-in and clarity and a system of very effective communication. So now we have to be thinking about how our business is evolving on many different levels and keeping employees inspired on that journey.
Lovely, thank you. Obviously some really huge topics here, and you're going to be discussing all of this in more depth at the conference. We're going to talk about a whole load of operational issues, and I can't wait to hear more from you there.
Thank you. Well, I'm looking forward to it, and it will be a very engaging dialogue, and even as things evolve between now and then, we'll see as the topics change what we need to discuss.
Great stuff, thank you.